Hello, this is Scott at Aquascapes ATX. I did a little research here and I thought I would pull together a list of the what I consider the top 13 most healthiest vegetables to grow in a Texas garden. My list may be different than a lot of other people's lists, but I kind of skewed it for things that are easy to grow here, but it's based on the scoring is based on CDC nutritional value ratings. So while some vegetables in this list are less nutritionally dense than, say, watercress or spinach, they offer phytochemicals, which are medicinal plant compounds that the CDC score does not take into account. There is a lot of data here with some big words that I will most likely mispronounce. So download the doc from the description if a word doesn't make sense. So while different health organizations rank vegetables slightly differently based on their criteria, i.e. fiber content versus vitamin density, one of the most authoritative rankings comes from the CDC. I pulled this list with help from Gemini from CDC's Powerhouse Fruits and Vegetables list, and I added a link to that in the document in the description, which scores produce based on nutrient density. I modified this list slightly to avoid vegetables that are hard to grow in central Texas, one being asparagus. It's a perennial, takes for 2-3 years for it establishes, a ton of water. I've seen some people around here grow it, but to me it sounds like more trouble than it's worth. And I've added some vegetables that, the initial list, they weren't on the top of the list, but I thought they would be good additions because I like growing them. Interestingly, these are all great September to March vegetables, which is the best time to be gardening in Texas, in central Texas, in my opinion. Just the days are less hot, there's more rain, no bugs, just a lot of good reasons really to be gardening this time of year. There's certain things you can't grow, but a lot of things that grow really, really well. Everything on this list should survive a mild freeze with no coverings required. That's an added bonus because we do get an occasional freeze here in central Texas. And I started almost all my plants, these winter plants, by directly sowing seeds. I use Gemini and ChatGPT to get recommended varieties that are best suited for central Texas. And there are other vegetables that are not on this list I like to grow, but I'm highlighting the nutritionally dense ones in this discussion. So top of the list is watercress, which CDC scores at 100. It's exceptionally high in vitamin K, over 100% of daily value in 1 cup, vitamin C and vitamin A. Contains more vitamin C than an orange and significantly supports bone health and immune function. I would add, though, that it's a lot harder to eat a cup of watercress than a cup of oranges. I grew watercress last year in my aquaponics, and the flea beetles loved it, but it was able to outgrow the flea beetles, so I was able to harvest some. Even though this is the most nutritionally dense vegetable, it's one that I struggle to eat much of. It's very strong peppery and horseradishy kind of flavors. So I didn't really eat much of it, and I didn't plan it again this fall. I do need, after reading this and researching this topic, I do need to give it another try. Suppose you can make a pesto with it, but I've not tried that yet. Number 2, which I've been growing some this year, is bok choy and has a score of 92. Technically, it's healthier than spinach at 86 and kale at 49 and even Swiss chard at 89. It's exceptionally rich in digestible calcium and iron, which are big things to look for, especially if you're a vegetarian. I should be very diligent about finding good calcium and iron sources. Unlike spinach, which has an oxalate that blocks mineral absorption, the calcium in bok choy is highly bioavailable, which means your body can actually use it. Bok choy is best stir-fried, 2 minutes for the stalks, and then another minute or 2 with the greens added in. Vitamin A and K are fat-soluble, so you need to consume some fat with your bok choy to actually absorb those minerals, or those vitamins. Bok choy contains an enzyme called myrocyanase that converts compounds into cancer-fighting sulforaphane. Heat kills this enzyme, so chop the bok choy when you start cooking and let it sit for 10-15 minutes or more to give the enzyme time to work before you denature that enzyme in cooking it. By the way, if you hadn't figured out, I'm reading from my notes here. I did 5 pages worth of stuff, which is more than I can remember. Number 3 on the list is Swiss chard, which has a score of 89. It's a relative of the beet. Swiss chard has colorful stems, red, yellow, white, and dark green leaves. It's a powerhouse for vitamin K, magnesium, and antioxidants. It is one of the few vegetables containing betalains, a class of antioxidants that decrease inflammation and support detoxification. And I think I'll probably do a separate video just on betalains. In researching this, there's some really interesting facts around them that I think would be an interesting deep dive. This grows slow at first, but once you get it going, it's a prolific vegetable that you will struggle to consume all of. It is great in soups, stews, quiches, or sautéed. If it's blanched, it can be frozen. You can actually freeze it without blanching it, but then it won't keep that nice green color. It also can be dried and added to smoothies or sauces as a superfood sprinkle. I also like rainbow chard for its ornamental value. And I have not done the drying chard, and I've thrown a bunch of it in the compost pile. I just got sick of eating it. And but that sounds like an interesting thing to go try. I've done the drying with eggplant. I had a bunch of eggplant this fall, more than I felt like eating, and did the drying. And now we crumble it up and put it into sauces and soups. And I actually did a video on that process. Number 4 is beets, and especially I want to highlight beet greens for a CDC score of 87. You can eat both the root, the red bulb, and the green leafy tops. The greens are actually more nutrient dense than the root. It has folate, manganese, and dietary nitrates. The nitrates in beets can help lower blood pressure and improve athletic performance by improving oxygen use. I like to grow beets for the greens as much as the beets themselves. They are super nutritious, easy to grow, and you can overplant them and eat the greens as you thin them out. So you don't have to wait till the beet is fully full size of that 2-3 inches. You actually, as you plant them and they grow better, they germinate more than you thought. We just pull a couple of them out until you get to that 2-3 inch spacing if you want to eventually do the bulbs. They're very versatile to cook with in sauces, soups, salads, or the raw seedlings. And they're also a very nice ornamental. I like to see them in my garden. I think they add some color and contrast and make the pretty up the beds a little bit. Spinach, number 5, with a score of 86. This is a health food that's touted quite a lot by nutritionists. Spinach is arguably the most versatile of the super greens. It's nutrient dense but mild enough to hide in smoothies or pasta. It's loaded with iron, magnesium, potassium, and folate. It's rich in antioxidants like lutein and beta-carotene, which are vital for eye health. I love sautéed spinach. I fell in love with it, from Italian restaurants that would quickly flash fry it or fresh stir fry it, just enough to wilt it with garlic and olive oil. I've always loved it that way since I first had it. And it's really healthy, so what could go wrong? But when growing it here in my garden, I always struggle with snails and flea beetles just eating the bejesus out of it. When they're first growing up, the first tender new seedlings. I have found that if you sprinkle some DE powder on top of the seedlings and you're pretty diligent about that, then that will knock down the flea beetles and snails enough that it can grow up, and once they're big, they seem to not bother it too much. But when they're very little, they can really decimate your spinach plants to the point that they just can't survive. Number 6 on my list is broccoli rabe, with a score estimated at 62, and I'll go into why that the score is estimated, or where they got that number from, because CDC doesn't really include broccoli rabe in that in their table. Well, regular broccoli is mild and crunchy. Broccoli rabe is leafy and potent. In direct nutrient showdown, broccoli rabe wins on density compared to broccoli florets, and that's the flower, and that's a key piece to remember when we later talk about broccoli. And it actually grows faster. At least you get to harvestable or usable stuff before. You have the leaves and good through the entire process, growing from little to big. Where broccoli, typically you just wait for the florets and then you harvest those. Also, you eat all the leaves and stems as well as the flower buds, like broccoli or florets. It's a genetic twin with the turnip greens, so nutritional value should be about the same, which makes turnip greens another nutritional powerhouse. And the numbers, the CDC rating actually came from turnip greens, and that's what Gemini said. Basically, they're equivalent kind of plants, they're nutritionally wise, so they should have about the same rating. But that's why it's an estimated number. Rabe has significantly more vitamin A than regular broccoli. It packs more calcium, iron, zinc, and per calorie than broccoli. One serving provides over 100% of your daily vitamin K, essential for bone health and blood clotting. This is my first year growing broccoli rabe, and I'm wowed by it. It grows fast and prolific and is fairly bug-free. To cook it, just blanch it for a couple minutes, then incorporate it in stew or stir fries, or actually tonight I'm going to put it in pasta sauce. It holds its body and texture and doesn't turn to mush while cooking, which you'll get with some other greens. There's kind of a mushy mess, but this kind of holds some, still has some crunch to it. Also can be eaten as a single vegetable side with garlic and olive oil. I think Italians call it rapini. It depends where in Italy they use several different words for it, but that's all the same kind of vegetable. Number 7 on my list is kale. It has a score of 49. So kale has surged in popularity for good reason. It's a cruciferous vegetable, meaning it shares cancer-fighting properties with broccoli and Brussels sprouts. It's high in vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin K, and glucinolates. It can lower cholesterol and provides a surprising amount of calcium for a vegetable. I grow lots of kale. I think it looks pretty in the garden, the little ruffles, and if you do the Russian one, the Russian red Russian, that even adds some color depth as well. I started growing it in September, and the seeds did germinate out, and I'll probably keep planting it new rows into February. Like a lot of these winter vegetables, it's nice to start a new batch every month so you have some new, fresh, smaller plants to work with. One of my favorite ways to prepare kale is to spray it with some avocado or olive oil, sprinkle it with garlic, salt, and smoked paprika, and then put it in an air fryer at 350 for about 6 minutes. You may need to play with this time and temp a little bit, but basically you want to get it so that it's crispy and papery, but not burned. If it burns, then it's generates bad compounds, just like when you burn a steak. Those are carcinogenic type of compounds. I mean, I wouldn't sit there and worry too much about it, but it's best if it's just a little bit papery but not burned. And you don't want it mushy. You actually want it to dry out and be papery. And it's a very good snack, and you can pound down a whole bunch of kale and without even thinking about it, because the frying process or the air frying process just concentrates it really quick. Broccoli has a score of 35, and the broccoli greens are estimated at 62, and I'll go into where that estimate came from. Broccoli is a staple superfood that offers a high fiber to calorie ratio. It's rich in folate, manganese, potassium, and vitamin C. It contains sulforaphane, a compound that has been shown to reduce the size of a number of breast cancer cells in test tube studies. Broccoli is an easy-to-grow vegetable here during the winter in central Texas. If you try it in the spring, it's going to get hammered by the cabbage worms, but in the winter they're not very active, so it's pretty easy to grow. It takes a long time to get to the point that it's harvestable, as in the florets. I have been harvesting beets, arugula, and broccoli rabe for months now, but still waiting on my broccoli to bud. I actually put plants in, I want to say late September, early October, and I just started seeing some florets on it this afternoon, so maybe Christmas or early New Year we'll have some good broccoli florets to harvest. I've not tried this yet, but you can also eat broccoli leaves. Seems a little weird to me, but I'm going to give it a try. They're high in vitamin A and beta carotene. You can use the small tender leaves in a salad, or or you can slice the bigger leaves into chips and bake with oil and spices, kind of like what I talked about with the kale, but it's probably going to be a little bit different times to get it cooked. Broccoli are from the same genetic family as collard greens and almost identical nutritionally, hence where I pulled that CDC nutritional values actually from collard greens. I do plan to research eating the broccoli leaves some. It sounds intriguing to me, and try some different preparation techniques, and if I come up with something that I like and recommend, then I'll do a video on that. Number 9 is Brussels sprouts, and that has a CD score of 32. These mini cabbages are nutritionally dense and high in fiber, vitamin K, vitamin C, and camphorol. The antioxidant camphorol protects against cell damage and helps detoxify the body. And like I said before, I think I would like to do a video deep dive on this detoxifying thing. It does, when I started reading on it, it sounds kind of interesting. Broccoli sprouts, same category as broccoli florets in my mind. They seem to take forever to grow anything. There's a number of times I have bought Brussels sprouts and waited all winter long for them to grow, and then finally in the spring it starts warming up, and then the cabbage lopers eat it, and I don't really get any Brussels sprouts. I've gotten them once or twice, but I think if you really crave Brussels sprouts, I think I would buy them at the store. Green onions, they have a CD score of 27. Green onions are fantastic stealth health food because we usually view them as just a garnish. We tend to underestimate them. However, if you look at the data, they are actually healthier than regular onions. The green tops of scallions are leafy greens, meaning they pack the nutrients of a salad green with the flavor of an onion. Just 1 cup provides roughly 200% of your daily vitamin K, which is essential for bone density and blood clotting. Compared to a standard yellow or white onion, green onions have significantly more vitamin A and C because those vitamins are concentrated in the green shoots, not the bulb. Bioactive compounds in the onion family like allicin, which fights inflammation and lowers cholesterol, degrade quickly when they're cooked. Because we typically eat green onions raw, sprinkling on top of food, you absorb 100% of these medicinal compounds, where if you cook it, you're going to, like an onion you regularly cook, you lose those compounds. So when you're using green onions, and I did not really pay attention to this, it's really best after you're done cooking your dish, then just take your chopped up green onions and throw them on top, and that's the best way to absorb all the great benefits of green onions. Like garlic and leeks, they are rich in prebiotic fibers that feed good gut bacteria. And I like to grow green onions because they're super easy to grow and are so useful in a bunch of dishes. Pretty much any, like my Indian neighbor loves when I give him some green onions, and of course Italian dishes, really about any ethnic dish you go into, they take advantage of green onions. I usually plant bulbs at 1 inch spacing and then harvest every other one as they start to crowd each other out. I have rarely harvested bulbs. It often gets too warm before an actual bulb has set. They start going to mush, or so I'm not had much luck growing the onions themselves, but that's something easy you can get at the store. And unlike something like potatoes, fresh potatoes out of the garden are just a whole different world, like a fresh tomato. But I'm not sure on a fresh onion if it's really that different. I guess maybe it could be a little better. Certainly onion greens have a different, stronger flavor to them. I've not tried growing from seeds, but this is a great way to grow green onions. Simply grow in a clump and cut 4 or 6 inches of greens when you need them. This is a similar process I use for chives. I have some clumps of chives that have been around for 3-4 years now that just, like the Energizer Bunny, keep going and going. Number 11 on my list, carrots, which have a score of 23, and the greens are estimated at 55. Carrots are famous for their beta-carotene content, which gives them the orange color, vitamin A, which gets converted from beta-carotene, and vitamin K and potassium. These are all extremely beneficial for vision health. and studies have associated regular carrot consumption with lower risk of prostate and stomach cancer. And there's nothing like fresh carrots straight from the garden. This is another vegetable that I think is best, or just has flavor pops a lot more when you pick it right and consume it right away. It's a slow-growing vegetable, but it's pretty easy to grow once you get it to germinate. That's probably the biggest challenge, is getting the seeds to germinate. It's a little picky on soil, as it prefers sandy soil. And note that carrot greens are usually discarded but are very edible. You can use it like you would parsley or basil in a pesto or garnish. Number 12 on my list is leeks. And they have a score of 11, which is kind of low, but there's some other good reasons why to consume leeks. They're essential they're the gut health king of the onion family. If green onions are multivitamin garnish, leeks are the medicinal vegetable you can eat as a main course. Leeks are one of the best natural sources of inulin, a type of prebiotic fiber. Unlike standard fiber, inulin travels to your lower gut unchanged, where it feeds healthy bacteria. Leeks are remarkably high in polyphenol antioxidant called camphorol. Studies suggest camphorol protects the lining of your blood vessels against damage, while onions have quercetin. I mispronounced that. Leeks rely on camphorol, which has been linked to reduce the risk of chronic diseases and cancer. Leeks are a slow-growing but great Central Texas vegetable. If you have a part shade area in your garden, they will hang through the summer, which is a good thing since they take forever to grow. Like onions and garlic, they're pretty bulletproof pest-wise and can actually help deter other pests from your garden. And number 13, with a CDC score of 10, and the greens are estimated at 40. While used as a spice, it's technically a vegetable and biologically active. Allicin, manganese, vitamin B6, and vitamin C are all found in garlic. The active compound allicin has potent medicinal properties, helping to regulate blood sugar and improve heart health. Garlic is one I grew last year, but didn't get to the point of bulbs, which I was thinking is a way to eat garlic, is what most people do. I plan to try it again with a focus on greens. They can be used like green onions and with great flavor and nutritional value. So this was a large data dump, and I hope it'll inspire some experimentation and research on your part. I will put a link to the document that I'm reading from here in the description, so you don't have to try and remember it all. If you like this kind of data, please click the like button and subscribe. These drive my metrics and controls how often my content is presented to others. Happy gardening!